Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons. We're going to talk about Stranger Things, and we're going to talk about Stranger Things. And the reason why is I have just completed my Dungeon Master viewing of Stranger Things. I've watched many seasons of Stranger Things. Let's figure it out. So I watched Stranger Things season 1. I was blown away, and it was very much like Star Wars. I was like, oh my gosh, this is an intellectual property that's going to change my life. And it really did, right? So I watched Stranger Things season 1, and then I watched, and then Stranger Things season 2 came, but then I rewatched Stranger Things season 1 before I watched Stranger Things season 2. So I watched Stranger Things season 1 twice, right? Then I watched Stranger Things season 2 once. Then Stranger Things 3 came out, and I watched 1 and 2 again. Okay, so at this point, and then I watched Stranger Things. That means I've watched 6 seasons of Stranger Things. Okay, then Stranger Things 4 came out, and I watched 1, 2, 3, and then 4. Okay, so that means I've watched 10 seasons of Stranger Things. And then the Dungeon Master viewing I just watched was me watching Stranger Things season 1, 2, 3, and 4 again. So I have watched 14 seasons of Stranger Things, right? I absolutely love it. It's a transformational intellectual property. And that's what Dungeons and Dragons is, right? And I think that's and I can talk to you about this. We can't talk to the Muggle world about this. I guess the Muggle world may have analogs to this, like sports events that are important. I guess there's, like baseball games that were more important than other baseball games. But I would say that the transformational intellectual properties in my life, first and foremost, absolutely Dungeons and Dragons. And then it would also be Star Wars, absolutely a transformational intellectual property, fundamentally changed my life, really changed the way I viewed the world in a lot of ways, right? Star Trek, let's say, is a transformational intellectual property. Lord of the Rings, absolutely a transformational intellectual property. I'm going to shock you on this one. Fast and Furious. I love the Fast and Furious films. I've seen them many times. They will put me in a pine box before I will ever miss seeing a Fast and Furious movie on opening night. I have watched every single Fast and Furious movie on opening night in a theater, right? No plop out on streaming for me. And it's really, so there are many, but Stranger Things is a huge deal to me. It's a transformational intellectual property. Now, when I viewed it this time, though, I changed things. So I think the first time I watched Stranger Things, I didn't know what it was going to be. So I just watched it as a normal human, right? And then I didn't really think about, I was like, oh, look at this. Delightfully, Dungeons and Dragons is here, right? And it was, like, okay, whatever, and then when I realized it was about Dungeons and Dragons, I was like, oh my gosh. And that thing became majorly important to me. That recently happened with Legos. I was a Lego fan. I've always been a Lego fan. But when they announced that Lego and Dungeons and Dragons were one product, I was like, bet, I'm in, man. Like, that's fantastic. I'm here for it, right? But when when I realized, Stranger Things was a Dungeons and Dragons story, it started to shift things. When I watched it, and then I think I watched it, watched season 1 and 2 as a fan, and then I think I watched season 1, 2, and 3 as from the light of, oh, this is, I want, as a supporter, right? I wanted to support Dungeons and Dragons. So I'm like, every episode I watch tells, Netflix that I'm supporting this. But this last one, I was like, okay, I'm going to watch this as a Dungeon Master. So I'm going to squeeze this orange that is Stranger Things, and I'm going to get the juice out of it, right? And I want the Dungeon Master juice. Now, I do think there could be a Dragon Master viewing of Dungeons and Dragons Greatest Tales, Stranger Things, right? But I'm really excited just to be looking at this from the perspective of, I'm very excited about it. So, so I just wanted to share that with you, that I've completed an entire 4-season viewing of Stranger Things as a dungeon master, and I'm excited to share what I learned as a dungeon master from watching all 4 seasons of Stranger Things. So I just wanted to say thank you for giving me an opportunity to share my thoughts on it with you, and I really want to encourage you. Season 5 is coming out. You got to watch. And so I know not everybody whips through shows the way I do, right? But so start on your rewatch now. And also, like, when season 5 comes, we as dungeon masters and as dragon masters owe it to Dungeons and Dragons to really do everything we can to make it as successful as possible. And I think we really need to be treating it well, right? And so we want to bring new people to watch it. And so so I would really encourage you to rewatch it again, all 4 seasons, with somebody who's never seen it, so that when 5 arrives, you can be there. Every single word you just heard is my humble opinion on the coolest things in Stranger Things. The important part's when I get to hear your humble opinion. When you get in the comments and send your traffic, please consider liking, subscribing, and have a fetch millennium.